Hey guys, welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So June was a special month. It was all about Caribbean books. I did read one that wasn't because it was a subscriber pick, but nevertheless, overall I enjoyed the books that I read. I had a bit of new release as well as the older modern classic, had some short story collection as well, and so I really was getting a bit of everything that I wanted and that you want in a especially when you do a readathon, you want different variety of things. So I think I got that. So let's start off with the first book that I read in the month, and that is this book, which is Reversing Me Home, Eleanor Sherrod. She is a heritage of St. Lucia, and her grandparents were the first to go to England. What I liked about this is she took stories from that inspired from her grandmother, stories of real characters, real people who were able to find their children after the slavery had ended. And in this, it follows a character named Rachel who had her children being sold in, of course, slavery time in Barbados. And at the emancipation, there was a clause in the beginning where they had to stay as an apprentice for 6 years, basically still be in slavery for 6 years, working for free for whoever had previously owned them. Things happened and she escaped. Now, what I liked about this story, it has elements of where things were happening fast, and the traveling. She's moving from Barbados to Guyana to Trinidad. But the story, you can see the inspiration that was taken from the story, that you knew that's what it was. It's not necessarily one character. It's like multiple characters thrown into one storyline. What I liked about this is that it based on those who were able to find their children, who were able to find out what happened to their children, whether it was good or bad. And that was a part of the story that I felt was special, that I felt very moved by, that I was very much had a very good feeling about, because of the fact that this is a slave narrative, which is oftentimes ugly, and to know that in real life there were those who were able to go find that family and find their children that they lost and thought they would never see again. So I appreciate the book for that. And so all the other smaller flaws that I think it just wasn't that serious for me. I just was just so in the moment of knowing, every time that she was finding a child, and that feel-good moment in the story. And the fact that she had strength and she was a fighter and she was going to do whatever in her power, regardless if she was going to make it or not. She was going to try everything that possibly she can do to make sure she find her children. And I love that about this story. So now when Caribbean started, I ventured into the short story, and the short story to me was just icing on the cake of all the books I read. And the first one was, of course, The Secret of Catsrattle Village, and this is Callie Browning, and this is the third book I read from her. This is a collection of short stories she's written over the years that she combined, but it's a theme because these all focus on characters in this particular village that she made up in Barbados. And what I loved is it's one of those short stories that you want more. You're like, okay, which one of these are you going to just go back and make into a full-length story? That's just how I feel. It was very nostalgic too, because you felt like, you know this Caribbean town, you know them people there, you know the mix up, and all the stories just mesh well. This is where I feel like when you have a short story collection and you decide to have a theme, that it make it sense, that the story has to make sense, and this definitely made sense. I like how she talks about at the end, how when she got her first recognition for an award, and she didn't even wanted to post the story originally. Her intention was she wanted to get back into writing, and to know that that story that she created because she wanted to get back into writing got an award. It very inspirational, very much me saying, girl, you need to work on your stories. As you guys know, I'm forever writing, but never go anywhere with it. But, it just inspired me when I read background to this. Then you have the queen of a lot of books, and that is Jamaica Kincaid. And at the bottom of the river, this was the amazing writing. Like, I'm still at awe at the writing for this. It was very poetic. For a short story collection, I felt like I was reading poetry collection. It was just, it flows how she explains things and just describes certain things, and you're just like in the moment of her writing. I just know that for her, it's just, she just do it for me. She just do it for me, and I am going to keep reading her books and just keep being in the world she created. I would love to meet her one day. But this book, I think it's just one of those where, especially growing up in as a kid in the Caribbean, I just felt like from the get-go, the very first story, I'm like, yeah, that's my grandmother. That is my grandmother talking to me. That's how I felt. And it just kept going until, you know, different storylines in this. Another collection that actually flows well and kind of goes together with the theme of this. I did a reading vlog. Definitely go check it out because I did read some stuff in here. Then we got into a classic, a modern classic from an author that I don't think I would have picked this book up because of magical realism, but I'm so glad I did, because I was forced to challenge myself to read a genre that I normally don't read, and that is The Palace of the Peacock. And this is an author, Wilson Harris, that is like a treasure in the Caribbean that I never knew of, and it makes me also understood the foreword that was written by Jamaica Kincaid, because she was also an author that wasn't aware of this man's writing. Now, because of the fact that I don't read a lot of magical realism, I appreciate that this author was able to write where I can see and imagine Guyana. I can see them trotting through the forest of Guyana and the danger that was happening. This is a man who has this obsession with this woman, and she ran away. And of course, he's going to go get her, and he have these men with him, local men with him, to go get her. And they're trotting through the forest of Guyana, the danger and the wildlife and things that's happening. And the way the story is written, you can just imagine it, which is why I appreciate it, because oftentimes with this kind of genre, I struggle with imagining certain things, but I really got it. There's also the message in this that I had to read a couple of times to really grasp it, and when I did, I just thought how crazy and interesting how he was able to do a story like this and made that be the message. I read again, I did read a vlog on this, and the ending, that was one of that aha sweet part of the story when he how he summed it up, and I like that part of this. Again, it challenged me. It challenged me because I do not normally read this genre, and you guys know this. So I was in it. So for those people who are into magical realism, who like fantasy, those kind of things, you will definitely enjoy this. It is short, but the writing is absolutely beautiful. Then we got down to another one that was from the 80s, and The Final Passage by Carl Phillips. Now, I don't know much about this author. This was one I was researching. I do this every year for Caribbean. I try to research and find older books, because I think a lot of those older books need shine, especially those that oftentimes cannot come out of print. This was out of print for quite some years before it is now back in print. You can get it, but at one point you couldn't even get this book. This is another one that's still, you know, and what I liked about this is you have, this is one of those Caribbean stories that I felt, listen to your parents kind of deal, like learn from their mistakes, listen to the warnings. And so I read this like thinking, oh my God, this is a young woman that married a man that is definitely had signs. There was red flags from the very beginning, but she did not pay attention to those red flags, and ultimately found herself in a a marriage that was just unhealthy and there was no support, and this man was notorious for cheating. He even had a child while he was with her. And you see how her trying to be in this relationship, how it affected her. And at some point she left our island to go to the UK, and you see the experience of people in the UK and that time. We're talking the late 70s, the 80s, and the kind of struggle that you see a lot of Caribbean people were having, what community that they wouldn't even want them to be in, and the lifestyle they were in, and what they gave up. It's not necessarily always the best. But what I liked about this is that she did learn. She got herself together, and I just absolutely love the ending of this. This was like my take on situations like this. Go your yard. That's what I felt. Go your damn yard. And I just love this. And so in this, it's that finding yourself and knowing your self-worth, and having that much love for yourself to realize when enough is enough. So definitely recommend this. Then there is that book that made it to the Women Prize final, the short listed, and this is a book that how I'm going now that because it's been a couple of weeks now since I read this. We got 2 weeks, I think. Now that I have even think about the book more, I realize that this was different, but different in a way that I appreciate, because I think sometimes books like this, they do too much and then they get lost. I think the ending was a little bit of a struggle with this one. So this follows pretty much a young girl who she really don't know who she is. She's never known her mother, who was told that her mother died. She grew up not having a mother. Her father has been absent. He's there, but he's really absent. And so she's clinging to friends and people to give her the attention she wants, to make her feel good, to make her feel loved, and to be seen, because there's a lot of this is about being seen. And of course, not everybody you gravitate to is going to be the person that you should be around. And as things are happening where she's a part of the party scene, and this is her having a good time, and this man that has made her feel special, made her wanting to be in Jamaica to see where her roots are, to know more about her roots. And he is killed by the police, and there's that storyline of that time and people who were being killed by police back in that time. This is in the late 70s, early 80s. And this is now take on a life of its own, where people around her, things that happen, her friends. She's getting involved with a group, and this man who's taking advantage of her, and how things are happening was just dark. And how she eventually got herself out of that mess and got to Jamaica. And the story changed in that aspect, where it's that more of connecting to your roots kind of theme, and finding out about her mother. But as usual with stories like this, your past is going to follow you, and how that story twisted at the end is where I had to read that part a couple of times, because I wanted to see why did the author took that ending. And then also it made me wanted more, because I feel like that ending had some spaces that wasn't filled up. Like I felt like there was some blank pages, and it needed something more. So the ending is what took away from the story being even great, because the beginning, the first half was absolutely great, but that ending had something that I felt needed a little bit more, which is why this book, I think, but it really didn't stand a chance against the one that wins. So we'll see, because that's coming up, guys. All right, then the group read. Now the group read, we did a discussion with me, Karen from Run Rights Read. It was a lovely discussion. I want to thank everybody that came through. It is up, so if you read this book and you want to watch our discussion, because it's multiple people talking in the chat section as well. This is The God of Good Looks, and this is Brianne McIver. I spent a lot of time on this book because I slow read it because I wanted to be in this world longer. So I was reading it by parts and talking about it throughout the month. And so it makes it easier to have discussion. Now this is very Caribbean, absolutely very Caribbean. This screams Caribbean. You felt Trinidad, you felt the culture, you felt the food. And this is a story that is trying to compare it to other books. And I don't think it's anything like that, because this author to me got it right. If you are going to have a story about a young woman who is dealing with the consequence of her action, of being involved with a married politician, and how her career was ruined by that. She is an inspired writer, and how she got involved with a man who has a magazine. He's also a makeup artist, and he creates makeup and beauty, and this idea of what beauty should be, and his struggle, and how he wanted her because of what he thought. So this becomes a story of the one who grew up with nothing and the other that did, and how sometimes because the person grew up with wealth doesn't mean that they had everything, that kind of deal. I thought this was a good book. I enjoyed it. I thought it was nice that they have two points of view, where you get in Bianca, and then you get in Obadiah's point of view. He's a character at first you might not like it, because I didn't, but he grew on me. But I like that the message in this, I love, my favorite part is the letter, and I like that the author had a message. She got it right. It made sense. It's not a story that had this shock value that people like, where you're shocking your readers, but you're not giving them anything at the end. She didn't do that. She got it right. So I was here for this. Then we have a Haitian author that just absolutely tore me up. And that is what? Storm Was Thunder. Now this is a book I've seen so many times. I knew I wanted to read it. I knew it was going to be heavy because it surrounds the event of the earthquake that shook Haiti. And the author just kind of, I think, made the people there human, of their lives. What was happening before the earthquake, what happened after. And in this, you got multiple point of views. So you're getting from different characters, and the day leading up to the earthquake and the actual earthquake, and the survivors, and it was like interesting, like learning about different things, that just knowing that some of these things were happening. Money, all these monies that people were donating, and what ultimately happened to a lot of that money. Then the structure of the island, the buildings that crumble, like that kind of thing. But the grief is there. The grief is there. The sadness is there. You have one character who completely lost all her kids, and you have a father that struggled with whether or not life is worth it, and that kind of deal. You have secret life that it was exposed, and the regret of that. And you have those who were in pain and anguish, and just kind of going through it, but then decided to inflict all of their rage and pain on someone else. And that was just a hard part to read in the book. But it was just well done. I love this book. It's a hard book. This is not a book I think I would just want to just read because it's just heavy. But it was just done right. I just love Haitian authors. Haitian authors they just do it for me. So I was really a big fan of this one. Those are all the Caribbean books. Now let's get to the subscriber pick. Victoria. Lord, Oprah like mix up and blend up, because this is some mix up and blend. There was so much going on in the beginning of this book. Deacon King Kong. It's a whole lot going on in the beginning of the book that I was like, what is going on here? It was just like so many things. Then you got this Deacon, also known as Sports Court, because the man used to love him in Sports Court. This is set, this event happened in 1969. So this is that early days of when drugs was just moving in the community in New York. This is more so the heroin kind of days. And this is when they are, you know, moving into the projects, the inner city, that kind of deal in Brooklyn, all over New York. But the story mainly Brooklyn. And you have this man who works at this, he's a deacon at this church. And he just decided to go up and shoot this drug dealer, young kid. And the story surrounds that whole event because the kid is involved with some serious stuff. And so there's that. So then you are, you know, learning about the people from the church, the people in the community, and the police officers that often routinely in the community, as well as the big people that's, you know, that's dishing out the drug, that kind of deal. But one of the things of this is, one, you have also Deacon, who is an alcoholic. So he is, you know, I don't remember nothing, that's a story. I don't remember nothing. I don't know what you're talking about kind of deal. Which was in the broad daylight where other people saw. And then you have him also dealing with the fact that his wife drowned and died. So there's that kind of illusion that he was going through of seeing her and she's like talking to him, you know, that kind of deal. I was just like, Lord, this is some drama. And then I thought about it, and I'm saying, this gave me some easy. It gave me easy, Raleigh. Y'all know I love that series, that book series. And I just was thinking, that's what it reminded me of. So like, if you are in, you know, that it's, you know, it gave me that. It's a lot of drama in this. Now this would be great as a movie. Absolutely great as a movie. This should be a movie. Like, I'm surprised nobody thought about, well, we're gonna make it a movie yet, because there's so much in this, and the twist and the turn and the ending. I was just like, and the damn cheese, Lord, if I hear cheese again. And the story behind the cheese in this is just another one that made me laugh. The old women, I mean, the women in this were badass. I'm just gonna tell you, the women in this was like, from the old lady in the nursing home, don't care, you know, she old as hell, but you know, to the other woman who went through some things to the point where she's gonna defend herself, and she might shoot you. That kind of deal. I mean, just even his dead wife, the illusion and the storyline behind her, it's just, the women were badass. Y'all had me reading some things I would have never picked up. I would have never picked this up. I'm just telling you, Victoria, thanks, but I would have never picked this up. And I've seen this book so many times when it just came up, because, you know, anytime Oprah put a stamp on the book, you're going to see it all over. But for some reason, it wasn't really drawing me in. And now that I've read it, I'm like, entertaining. This was entertaining. Absolutely entertaining. Absolutely kind of a movie kind of situation, for sure. And do I say read it? Yes. If you into mystery, crime, suspense, oh, like I said, you know, either of the series, you will like this, for sure. But just know, I would say the first couple of chapters, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on that it might just be a little bit overpowering. Because for me, I was like, it's a lot. So it was a lot. But it all made sense as you kept reading. It all makes sense. And the message in this, that timeline was just so horrible, and how, all these drugs was coming into these community, and, it was one of those where you just like, man, this was going on for a minute. So this, this is a 1969 kind of situation. And church, Lord, this is the first time I've really seen church like caught up in some mess. First time, but it was done in a way where you will see why, and not so much as the church is how the opportunity and situation. That's the best I could give you. So, do I say read this? Yes. And you know why you should read it if this is kind of your genre, for sure. So, that is all that I got. 9 books. And short story collection, of course. And half a year. 6 months is down. And I think I hit the 47 mark. So I'm looking forward to see what else I am going to pick up. I already selected today. I'm recording this on the 2nd of July. So the book for July's subscriber pick is a short video is up. So go check out my shorts. And I will see you the next one where it's going to be some good stuff. And I got some book mail that I have not opened. I'm excited. I want to open it, but I'm going to wait because I want to do it on video. And I have some journaling stuff I'm going to work on. So, see y'all in the next one, guys. All right, guys. Bye.